Welcome to the Effects Loop. I'm Scott.
I'm Chris.
I'm Diaz.
And we're keeping you in the loop of the guitar community. This episode is brought to you by StringJoy. StringJoy offers you balanced tension strings in completely customizable sets. Diaz, I think you just tried one of their custom sets using a wound G string, right?
Yeah, so I've been using the last batch I got from them. I've been doing a wound G, so it's been pretty cool because there's a lot of people who swear by them, and it's been really interesting to try out.
Have you been noticing that's on your SG, right?
It's on my SG and my Telecaster.
Are you noticing better tuning with the SG now?
Yeah, it seems to stay in tune a little bit better on the G string. It doesn't. I don't know. It seems a little bit different. It is definitely something you have to get used to. Like I was playing Pearl Jam the other day, and what is it? Yellow Ledbetter. The solo has a weird spot where you have to go up a step and a half, and it was a lot harder than it was whenever I was using a plain G.
Did you go up a gauge too? It's a thicker gauge on the wound, right?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
That's above. I see the cool thing about StringJoy is I just emailed Scott at StringJoy, and if you email him, I was like, hey, I want to try a wound G, and he was like, yeah, that's cool, let's try that. What type of, what gauge are you looking for? And he just kind of, asked a couple questions and was like, all right, I've got the set for you, and he sent them, and like right out of the gate, I was like, this is amazing.
Yeah, he's hooked me up with a few kind of custom options as well. So light them up. Is it info@stringjoy.com, I believe, is their email address, or just go to stringjoy.com and check out their standard sets and all the options they have on their website.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So that brings us to what's new. Chris, do you got anything new this week?
Marissa and I got the Big Ear woodcutter. She picked it up last weekend while she was out.
Didn't she get a loaf too?
No, that was it. She just got the woodcutter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that the one with the rabbit? Wait, what? Doesn't it have? Isn't it a custom one?
Yeah. It's the limited edition rabbit art one. So all the money went to a rabbit foundation to save endangered rabbits or something like that.
Oh, that's cool. And it has a boost on it or something, doesn't it?
Kill switch, actually.
Kill switch, that's what it is. Yeah.
So yeah, it's been pretty fun messing with that, and I've basically learned that I'm definitely more of a Vox and Rat person than I thought I was.
that's the classic Dave Grohl sound too.
Mm-hmm.
And I have ADD, and we just started using Google Hangouts to mirror Scott's screen, so when he pulls up the ads, we can all see it. And I just had Slash flash at me.
We shouldn't Slash
We're getting ahead of ourselves here. You're getting ahead of ourselves.
Well, you're the one who brought him up, and he was just looking at me, and then he just went away. It was slightly confusing.
Is that better?
Oh my mother! I can't say it. I can't say it because I know Clifton listens to the show, and I feel really bad. 'Cause Clifton's a good boy. He doesn't say bad words.
All right, Diaz, what's new with you, man?
Oh man, I've got actually a lot of what's new. So, this past Sunday was my birthday. I turned the dirty 30, and I got a bunch of cool stuff. Chris, I need to mail you that pedal.
Okay.
ADD. It's been kind of crazy, and then now we have to record today. But I talked about it before. I had a deal on some pedals that I was getting. So I got is it Valtin or Valatin?
I've heard it both ways.
Okay,
I've never heard it.
He's like, Chris is just like, I've never heard the name at all.
I've never heard it spoken.
It's kind of like D'Addario.
Run like the wind, guys. Run like the wind.
Yes.
What?
I've only ever read it in books.
Oh, never mind.
It's wait.
Oh my gosh. It took me a second, but I got there. All right, but I picked up a bunch of those pedals. I got the Choral Tuner, I got the Vibrato, the Chorus, and the OD10, which came from their line of pedals that looks like mini Boss pedals, like with the actual like Boss foot switch. So those are pretty cool. And I picked up Chris the FET 10 preamp, which I'm half tempted just to buy back from Chris. Because it seems really cool. Chris, do you just want your money back?
It's now
Chris, you
worth
better make money off
$60.
What'd you say?
It's now worth $60.
You want $60 for it?
Yeah.
Nah, I'll just mail it to you. But I got my 4 pedals. Like I got a daisy chain. I was in that like $45. So, because the guy kept
That's
like
a lot
lowering the
for
price.
not a lot.
Huh?
That's a lot of pedal for not a lot of money.
Yeah,
It really
so that's
is.
pretty cool. I'm actually gonna make my son a bass pedal board, and
cool.
it can be like a backup pedal board. And he just got his own bass. He did that Nerf deal, so I actually took my bass back, and I might actually mess around with some bass a little bit. And then I got a Fuzz Roches Trimmer Slow, I guess is how you pronounce it.
That has some of the best pedal artwork ever.
Yeah, so I guess it's from the movie Tremors.
You guess?
Oof.
I've never seen Tremors.
Okay, you have homework for next week.
Isn't that a Kevin Bacon movie?
Yes, it's like the best Kevin Bacon movie.
Is it a comedy?
It's not meant to be.
Oh my god! So is it the Room of Kevin Bacon movies?
Hey.
Sort of.
Listen, no one watches The Room for the fantastic acting.
No, we watch it for the
I
framed
just-
pictures of
did
Stupid
not-
spoons.
comments in your pocket.
I did not hit her. I did not. Oh, hi, Mark. We're just gonna recreate The Room scene by
I'm down.
scene. You're tearing me apart, Lisa. But
Have you guys watched The Disaster Artist yet?
yes, it was phenomenal. Oh my gosh,
Oh.
it was phenomenal.
I think it's on Amazon Prime right now, Chris. You should watch it.
Ooh.
Yeah, I might be. Was it on Netflix?
I think Amazon Prime.
I watched it. Yeah, I've got both of them, so it gets confusing.
I
So,
may have seen that in the theaters.
I would have seen it in the theaters, but I got the Trimmer Slow, which is it's fan freaking tastic. So when you think of Fuzz Roches, like you see like this kind of outrageous artwork in a good way, outrageous. It's different, and you think that they're gonna have like these crazy pedals. That's a really nice sounding tremolo, just standard tremolo. It has a tone knob on it, which is awesome.
That's a nice feature on a tremolo.
So I was messing with it, and I kept changing the tone, and I got it where it's almost all bass, and I put some fuzz in front of it.
Mm-hmm.
It sounded very synthy.
Nice.
So that was really cool. And then some people got me a present.
What?
Yeah.
Who would do that?
So I got a Dan Echo from the rest of the peoples on the effects loop. So that was pretty cool. Because that's my favorite pedal.
You were only ranting about how that was your favorite pedal.
It really is my favorite pedal. Like, I'm so excited. Because, like, I had one, and it died out on me. And now I've got one again. I need to do the self-oscillation mod, because that's where the fun happens.
Yeah, I was reading up on mods for it. I was trying to see if you could add a tap tempo to it.
No.
You can. It's just crazy hard.
I wouldn't. It's not worth it.
Yeah.
I don't want to tap tempo on that pedal. Like that, I just actually did a live stream, and that's why I was kind of late to our phone call, but I was doing a live stream of it, and I fell in love with it again playing it. It has this like dirtiness on the repeat. It's a tape echo that sounds like it's been like ran through the dirt. And it just has, it's so nice.
It's a nice one.
But that's my what's new. All of those things.
Well, I don't really have a what's new this week.
It's a miracle.
I tried buying things. It didn't work. And I posted about that in the group with the barefoot buttons mistake where everything was listed for $1.
Yeah.
and I tried buying 37.
And it didn't
Well,
happen.
Yeah, they canceled the order and offered a generous discount if I wanted to come back and actually buy them at like normal-ish prices, but yeah, that didn't happen. But I was in that mode of like, oh shoot, are they going out of business? I need to buy as many as I'll ever need because
they're
I love
going
these
out
things.
for business.
Going out
Yeah.
for business.
Oh, that's reference number 2.
Don't do it.
Don't do it. Well, and so that's all I got. Other than I rebuilt my pedal board last weekend.
The whole
I no
thing?
longer a good portion of it. I
I mean,
reshuffled
what did it take
a
you,
lot.
like 7 hours?
Well, I didn't have to make any new cables, so it went pretty quick. You okay there?
Sorry, I'm 30 now. It hurts to move. I was literally
I thought you just threw up thinking about redoing my pedal board is what it sounded like.
No,
So.
so I had my leg up on my bed because I'm in my bedroom, and all I did was bring my knee down, and I had to make that noise. I'm getting old. Leave me alone.
Welcome to your 30s, Diaz. You make noises when you move
one
now.
day, and I can't handle it. I need to go back.
Well, let's dig into the gear news of the week. We got quite a lot of new stuff that we thought was worth talking about.
Yeah.
First up being the Epiphone / Firebird. Diaz, why don't you talk us through what this is?
Okay, so it's an Epiphone. See, I told you you'd bring it up. You need to pull up your own thing.
Oh, sorry, Diaz. Expecting you to do research on something before you talk about it.
Have you met me?
That's a lot of expectation.
Like, come on.
I'm sorry. I'm asking too much. I'm sorry.
So, Epiphone's coming out with a / Firebird. We actually saw this at Summer NAMM, and it was weird because L. John, who gave us the tour, I was kind of like, or maybe it was another guy. I kind of made like a smart comment. I'm like, yeah, because Slash is known for a Firebird, and like this Gibson guy slid up. And he was like, actually, that's not really how he sounded, but in my memory, that's how he sounded. He's like, he's been using it quite a lot on this recent tour. I was like, okay, all right, gotcha. But I mean, it's a Firebird. It's not. It does have one thing that I absolutely hate on Firebirds, and that's
What's that?
Uncovered pickups.
Oh, yeah, but that's Slash's style. I mean, they're his signature pickups in that.
I don't care.
The Duncan / open coil.
Yeah, I don't care. It looks ugly. I don't know. I just think it looks ugly, but that's a personal aesthetic choice.
It makes them hotter, right? Like you get a lot more output out of
Slightly.
them by doing that.
I don't know if it's
guess.
a lot.
I don't know, but it does. I mean, it looks good. And luckily, they didn't go with like dot inlays because that would just be even worse.
Yeah, that would be. I mean, for an Epiphone at that price point, because these are what, $800 for the standard one, and then the signed special one. What's it called? The premium outfit.
Ooh.
Which, if it doesn't include a top hat, you can't call it a Slash outfit.
So the pick guard actually has the hat on it as well, instead of the Firebird.
That skull and crossbones thing. Yeah.
Yeah, the Slash thing going on, and I like the color. It's a trans black.
Do you
Is
like
it
the?
AAA
Yeah. Do you like the
flame
flamed maple?
Yeah, no, it looks good. I think that it's classy looking. I feel like it would be classier with pickup covers. But one thing you mentioned both in the pre-up was the tuners. So they have the look of they're kind of like Steinbergers where they're behind the headstock tuners, but they're look like Gibson's classic style, like the ones that have the what is it called?
The banjo tuners?
Yeah, banjo tuners.
No, yeah, maybe that's it. But you were talking about the ratio on the tuners.
Yeah, they're 12-to-1 ratio tuners.
So, for the people who don't know what that is, which would have included me until about 15 minutes ago, tell us what that means, Scott.
A higher ratio means you need to turn the tuning key more to get the actual post to move, which allows a more precise tuning.
So the more turns to get the post to move one full rotation.
theoretically the better, unless it's robo tuners where they had like 100-to-1 ratio on them and people hated it.
Oh wow.
Well, you know what? We all hate the robots because they're going to become our supreme overlords.
Can confirm.
Okay, it's been confirmed. These are 12-to-1. My Firebird, we looked up, is actually 40-to-1. Mine have the Steinbergers, and that's extremely precise. It takes quite a bit for me to actually make a big dent. It takes quite a few turns, so it makes it where you're closer to tuning. You aren't going to go too far, or one way or the other.
So, yeah, this looks pretty spec'd up for an Epiphone, though. Outside of the tuners, which I hope are... I don't know, if 12-to-1 works at that angle, great, but...
I don't...
You know...
The problem with those tuners is it's not like... I mean, there's only a few different styles you can replace those with, too.
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder if Steinbergers would fit in there, because the way my Steinbergers work, I'm sure it would, because I'm sure it's just a hole.
Do they have the mounting pegs the same way, where it's got the 2 screws on each tuner?
I don't know. My guitar's over there. I can go find out. Should we pause the podcast for 5 seconds? All right, everyone.
Everybody pause for 5 seconds.
Now's your chance to go get snacks, refill on your sodas. Be sure to tip your waitress. I'll be right back.
All right, so moving on. Also in the news is the Supro and Keeley collaboration. Chris, why don't you tell us a little bit about this?
Honestly, not too much to tell. From the description, it sounds like it's basically a pedal platform, because I'm assuming I've never touched a Supro in my life, so I'm assuming they're known for being having some gain to them no matter what.
Yeah, they're really not clean amps, by the way. Mine does not have the 2 screws. But their Supros are not known for being super clean.
Yeah.
It's not like...
No, I mean, the Thunderbolt's the classic one, or the Twin 12. Those were both... Oh, no, sorry, that was the Silvertone was the Twin 12, wasn't it?
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, they were known for being the low headroom amps that sounded gnarly when you cranked them up.
Gotcha. So I'm assuming that this is supposed to be a very clean platform. Has an effects loop. I don't know if that's standard on the other models, but the main thing I wanted to point out was that it maintained Supro's mid-range girth. That's the thing that stood out to me.
I wonder what that actually means. Does that mean it's just not mid-scoop like a Fender is?
I would assume so, because isn't Supro no, they're American-ish. So I was going to say I kind of put them in this. Yeah, I kind of put them in the same house as Vox and Marshall, with a little bit of that mid-range hump
kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd agree. Well, and so this is, if it's made as a pedal platform, number one, you've got Robert Keeley, who's the godfather. He is the guy.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, he's in a class with very few others. And if he's putting his name on it, that's gonna be awesome. But I think this is how much are these running? $800?
In that range, yeah.
I think it was $799, the one I saw, because someone posted about it. If you look at the Wampler Bravado, which is twice as much, and that's the main thing with the Bravado, is that it's supposed to be the ultimate pedal platform, and you've got Keeley doing this with Supro. It's half the price, and it's a name I trust.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think from a price point perspective, this gets closer to the AC-15 C1 or a Fender Hot Rod Deluxe.
Mm-hmm.
Or used.
So it's a 1x12, or is that it? 1x12?
Yeah, it's a 1x12.
Oh, no,
so,
1x10.
1x10.
Yeah, 10. Yeah, you're right.
Ooh, that's even nicer. I like that because it's...
I was going to say, 1x12s are still a lot of amp for some people, so...
Yeah, 1x10, that's actually... That makes me really happy that it's a 1x10 because that, I could see this. This would be amazing for worship guitarists. If it's got a pedal platform, it's got an effects loop. It's a 1x10, so it's not going to be blowing wherever you're playing. It'll be easier to get quiet.
It's only 25 watts instead of like a 40 watt, like the Fenders.
I don't know. Well, 25 watts, 1x10. Yeah, that'll be...
It's like that's like a deluxe reverb.
Yeah, that's definitely enough.
Or Princeton. Princeton is a little bit lower than that.
What's the weight on it?
35 pounds.
Not bad.
That's super light. Yeah.
It's not a backbreaker.
It's really simple. There's no tremolo or reverb circuit on it, so that is going to come from your board if you're providing those things.
Mm-hmm.
Another kind of complaint a lot of people have with like the Hot Rod Deluxe is, although it has a preamp out and a power amp in, which is technically what effects loops often are, they didn't have a very good circuit on it for actually running an effects loop into a Hot Rod Deluxe.
And this is simple. It's right on top.
Yeah. So that's a nice feature that if it's actually a good one without grounding issues and all those kind of things, I think this could be a real seller.
My local Guitar Center usually has Supro stuff. I'm going to have to swing by and check this out.
Yeah. And another thing I like, and I know this is being real nitpicky, but it's a more modern amp feature, is the power cable is detachable.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is always nice. In case you need like a longer one and you don't want to use an extension cord.
Yeah. And you know what? And Supro amps always look nice.
Yeah, that blue is gorgeous. It's got a kind of denim-ish.
It's got that like
tweed.
Kind of like that thing you do era look to it, like the electronics of that. But it's maintained a classy look.
Although I think this will actually sell well, if they suffer from the thing that like Supros periodically just get like
they die.
Clearance sailed.
Yeah.
If this went super cheap, this would sell like crazy too.
Yeah, I could see this being a deal of the day at some point, being like $500 and people just loading up.
Gone. Yeah. Almost instantly.
It would be a deal of the day that they're like, oh, we have to put a new one out. So Supro and Pigtronics, same company, and they both are.
Isn't Supro part of BandLab, or did they sell that off to Pigtronics?
Pigtronics owns Supro. When Pigtronics bought Supro is when they've really been like pushing stuff out, the guitars and everything.
I thought they were part of BandLab, but I could be completely wrong.
Google it. It's not like you have the internet at your hands.
I'm doing that. Just you don't see that screen.
I see it now. But yeah.
Pigtronics bought them in 2014.
Yep, and that was right whenever everything started launching out, all the new stuff. Pigtronics pretty much revived that brand, but Pigtronics is a company that is constantly on the deal of the day. I honestly think that maybe their sales tactic is they price them high, like they have a high profit margin. Yeah. And then if they need like a cash flow, they're like, hey, yeah, just go ahead and put it on sale, and then it lets the companies get it out of inventory, and then they restock, and they probably sell to the dealers pretty low, but their MAP might be pretty high, and then every once in a while they let them run a nice sale. I don't know how they're doing it, but somehow they're still staying in business, because there was one time whenever there was like 5 different Pigtronics pedals in a row on deal of the day, everyone's like, they're going out of business.
This is just funny because you don't listen to 60 Cycle Hum, but this is what they were talking about on their episode this morning.
I don't listen to 60 Cycle Hum. Nothing against them. I just don't listen to podcasts anymore. I don't listen to anything. I'm 30 years old. I got 3 kids. I have my drive to work and drive home is nothing. I don't listen to anything. I listen to the sound of nothing.
Well, this is definitely not the sound of nothing. Electro-Harmonix came out with the Mod Rex Polyrhythmic Modulator. This hurts my head to look at how crazy this thing gets. I don't know if you guys have dug into this much, but there's 4 different sections that each can have their own sort of tap tempoed or, well, sequenced rhythm to it. So like you can have one effect going on at like on a quarter note of your BPM and the other one being on a dotted eighth. It's pretty nuts what this is doing, and I wouldn't necessarily say this is first and foremost a guitar effect. Would you guys?
Was Mike? I just want to know what drugs Mike Matthews was on whenever he came up with this.
The same ones as usual.
Okay.
So
That makes a
whatever's
lot
in
of
his
sense.
cigar.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, this is part of the fun of, Electro-Harmonix, is their stuff is not always catered to guitar players, but it works with guitar player stuff.
Okay, here's my question about this. Have they released a price point on this yet?
Give me a second.
Electro-Harmonix is either really cheap or not really expensive, but on the expensive side.
Yeah.
There's almost no middle ground.
Yeah, it's $250.
See, that's it. You know what I mean? It's not. I'm not saying it's super expensive.
Yeah, that's not that bad.
But it's usually like their pedals are like 140 and down, and then 250 and up.
Yeah. And I mean, there's a few stragglers there in the middle of like deluxe
Like
pedals,
the Pog
but
2, well, the Mel 9 and all that. That's like 189, stuff like
yeah,
that.
the Super Ego Normal is in that price range.
And then what's the Super Ego Plus? Like 250, 275?
Somewhere in the low to mid twos.
Yeah.
I did not buy mine new, so I'm not totally aware.
No, I was just wondering. That was just an observation, but
Yeah.
And the only weird thing that I've always found with Electro-Harmonix that bugs me, the white knobs. They look cheap.
Yeah, the knobs always do look cheap on both my my Big Muff op amp and my Super Ego.
Yeah, because they're
the same knobs.
They're plastic,
Yeah.
aren't they?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, most knobs are.
Well, but they look like a thin plastic. You know what I mean? Like something you could just bend with your finger.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, I'm just looking at my board right now. The only knobs that are metal are my Tonal Recall and the Cali 76. So that shows you how expensive the pedal has to get
Well,
to become metal knobs.
Most of mine are plastic. Well, my woodcutter is metal knobs. My
Is it?
compressor, yeah.
My woodcutter is under another pedal. Give me a second.
Are you not trusting me? Really? Do you think I'm lying to
And
you?
my woodcutter's metal knobs.
That's a premium feature right there of Big Ear.
Yeah. That's because Grant's the man.
Yes, he is.
I'm turning knobs on my pedal board without looking. I like to live dangerously.
I just got lost in my woodcutter. Going back. So what's really cool about this is it's a lot more like a drum machine kind of sequencer kind of setup, which is a fun way to think of things differently, or moreover, without having a ganged tap tempo setup between multiple pedals, where you do have you're messing with the tap ratios on them, where you're like doing, okay, I'm going to put one on a 1-to-1, and I'm going to put one on a 4-to-1, thing like that. This is all kind of built in and keeps everything sequenced really tight, at least in constant intervals of each other, so you can again have that like one thing's on an eighth note, one thing's on a half note, one thing's on a quarter note, but it's all on the same BPM and it's all tied together. It's pretty cool what this thing can put out.
There's so much. I feel overwhelmed, and I'm not even planning on getting one.
Yeah, I can see how option paralysis kicks in pretty quickly with something like that.
I would just stare at it and be like, Lord help me.
Well, speaking of staring at things,
Staring. Oh, look, there's the thing.
yeah, Diaz, why don't you talk to us about the Adventure Audio Glacial Zenith 2?
Yeah, speaking of being stoned, Adventure Audio. No.
What is the pot referenced one that they have?
The Grim? They have the Grim Reaper, or like what is it? The Reaper, the Reefer, Dream
Reaper. Yeah.
They got the Dream Reaper. Then they did the oh my gosh, Albert from Sinusoid, who was on our show, has the Grim Reaper or something like that, which was like sold at a I can get there. Stay with me.
Is that the one that was at like a music festival?
That's it. Festival. That's the word I was looking for. Yeah.
They have a 420 shirt.
Oh, dude, they're all about the green. And I'm not talking about the money they're making. But I guess I'll open up my own window because Scott got distracted. So I'm going to read this because it just sounds cool. The earth moans as a torrent of ice and stone carves its way through the land. And here, atop it all, the Glacial Zenith 2. All right, so the GZ2 is a drive, a 3-band EQ, and a boost, all in a box. So the cool thing is you can put them in whatever order you want through toggle switches. And so they had the Zenith, right? The original drive.
Yeah, the original one was just a tone knob, though.
So it's just a tone knob. This 3-band EQ, which some people love 3-band EQs, some people love tone knobs. So now you've got it. It's got the boost built in. And I mean, the cool thing about the boost, you can change pre-drive or post-drive, which is two totally different things. Post-drive, you're going to boost your volume, and that's good for solo, stuff like that. Pre-drive, you're going to add more gain, so you're going to get a dirtier sound. And then the 3-band EQ, you can do it before the drive or after the drive.
That's a pretty cool feature, too.
Which, most people don't have that on their drive pedals with 3-band EQ. You don't get to choose where it goes.
Yeah.
And I've never messed with a 3-band EQ before and after a drive to know the difference, what it's going to sound like, but I can imagine that it's going to make a world of difference, and it's going to open you up tonally on your drive pedal. So that's really cool. I think that this is good for a good for a drive tweaker, someone who likes to fine tune their drive sound.
I agree. My favorite thing about this is if you watch the demo video, the song he's playing is "Teenage Dirtbag" by Ween.
I don't
remember
know
that
who
one?
Is. Nope.
Oh, that was a great song in the 90s.
I don't know.
All right. Well, why don't we keep moving here in the interest of we picked way too many things to cover in an episode. The old blood Noise Endeavors is releasing the Reflector V3. Chris, what do you got about this?
Pulling it up. Well, to start off with, it's a chorus. It seems to have all your typical controls. So you got rate, depth, and mix, and then you have this modulate, which I didn't exactly see what it does, but I'm assuming it's...
Oh, it gets weird.
Okay. Then have 3...
I love how Scott described it as the creepy uncle. He's telling the nephew, he's like, I could just see him with a glass of scotch in his hand. It's gonna get weird.
It's gonna get weird.
It's gonna get weird, buddy. And he calls him.
Look, man, I've seen some stuff. It's gonna get weird.
It's gonna get weird. All right, that's Susan. That's Billy. That's Rex. It's gonna get weird. What is going on here, Scott?
I can't wait to come to a Diaz family get-together at some point and see where he gets this inspiration from.
Oh no, this is all me, brother. Well, you know what? I think if you went to, so I had that family reunion that I went to, and we are all a little crazy.
Just a little.
Good story.
Good story. Yeah, you had to have been there. It was great.
So this is the third version of this pedal, so they've added a few modes, right?
The wrinkle, washed, and mirrored, which I'm just going to read this per their thing. I lost where wrinkle was. Where is it? Wrinkle is a vibrato-esque warble chorus.
So kind of like a Julia.
Yeah, washed is a simple lush chorus. Modulate control adds a wash of reverb, so that's cool.
Ooh.
And mirrors is a detune. It says detune meets flanger.
Oh, that sounds fun. I think anytime someone says meets flanger, you've got my attention.
Well, I mean, chorus and flanger are very close effects. They're essentially the same thing in just kind of different areas, right?
Kind of like how delay and reverb are kind of the same thing, just different areas.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
I'll give you that.
Yeah, sure. What do you mean you'll give me that? That's the truth.
Sure.
Sure.
Are you really like you want to argue about this?
No, I don't. That's why I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah, but you're saying it condescending. I can hear it in your like. I just went to Canada.
I'm not yelling.
Like-
I'm just confused.
I'm not.
I haven't gone to Canada recently.
I know, but it feels like you have. Kind of
Do I
like.
come back smug when I go to Canada?
Kind of like you're
I've
like,
been to
I went
Canada.
I went to the land of free healthcare. You peasants.
It's not free for me when I'm out there.
See, they're not as nice as they say they are. See, at least if they get hurt here, we have to take care of them. It's the law.
I mean, they still send you a bill here.
Okay, but I mean, do you have to pay it? Do you think like the Mounties are gonna come for you?
No, the hospital sends you a bill.
Yeah, but do you have to pay it? Does what you do
If
in
you
Canada?
want to come back, if you want to come back to Canada, probably you gotta pay it. Yeah.
It's like, sorry, we can't let you in. You have unpaid medical bills.
You got to. What is this? A boot your foot? Does your credit score follow you to Canada?
No, I had to reestablish a separate credit score when I moved there. That was fun, trying to get a credit card with 0 credit.
Wait, hold on. So I guess you could like completely start over. All right, see you guys.
Let's move to Canada.
Yeah, we're just going. We're gonna start the effects
Bring
loop.
cash. Bring a lot of cash.
Eh? You're listening to the effects loop, eh?
No, that would be if I moved to Minnesota.
All right, let's get. All right, sorry, I'm back. All right, back to the reflector.
So we saw this at NAMM. They were teasing it then. It looks like it's finally coming out this week.
Was that the V3
actually-
at NAMM?
Yeah, it was the V3. I for some reason thought it was the V2, but it was definitely the V3. I went and rewatched our video on it on YouTube.
Was it blue and white?
Yeah,
Where was I? I was distracted.
you were staring at the
probably
dweller.
distracted.
Yeah, I was distracted by the dweller. I was like, you're telling me there's delay
In a phaser.
and phaser in one little box, and it sounds really cool. I still haven't bought one.
So there's a couple of cool things in here. Like in the washed, I think or is it the mirrors? One of them, it's essentially there's a why am I forgetting what the name of this is? There's a ring modulator
Oh
basically.
yeah,
in
that's
it.
the wrinkle. It adds an option of pitch selection.
Yeah, and so in the video they have where Dan, who is one of their designers and also an all-around great person,
Excellent guy. Very
is
nice.
describing the pedal while Brady's playing on it. They hook up an expression pedal and basically turn the pedal into a wah
Yeah.
using that feature. They did this thing where they like completely take the dry signal out on the reverberated chorus, and it just sounds amazing.
I feel like every video they should do, they're like, yeah, so this can do like a normal chorus, and then they play the sound, and then they're like, now why the hell would you want to do that? And then they just go into the cool, crazy stuff. That's what old boys, that's what they're good at. Is, I mean, their pedals can sound like a normal effect, like in the group that you're thinking of, but man, they just have some craziness going on.
Oh yeah, I mean that's their
That's
thing.
their thing.
Is,
That's it.
Yeah, and that's why we love them, and that's why every time they release something, I'm like, oh, how are you going to completely change my mind about this effect?
Maybe I should use my Canadian credit card to buy this.
Good luck.
You have one all of a sudden.
I can get one.
I'd get in trouble at work if I used my Canadian credit card.
Well, because it's from them.
Yeah.
Well, why don't you just tell them that this pedal can find the acoustics better?
That's totally how
just-
ring
that's it.
modulation works.
Just send it. Just say that. Be like, why did you buy this? Finds acoustics better. Diaz. Just quote
I'm
me.
I'm a noise consultant, so I'm looking at noise endeavors. You know.
Yeah, and this is old blood. We don't need that new blood.
Yeah.
It just got bigger. Screen did. Now it's smaller.
So the last one on our list here for today is the Matthews Effects Cosmonaut V2. The previous version of the Cosmonaut was a pretty good sounding reverb. It had a plate, right? Modulated plate reverb, and
I
then
wish it was a plate. Are you talking about the
No.
V1?
No,
On
it
the
wasn't
Cosmonaut?
plate.
Yeah, on the Cosmonaut, the V1. Or are you talking about the new one?
The V1.
No, the
On
V1,
the V1
was
wasn't-
just Hall, I believe.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Modulated Hall.
Yeah, because I think, wasn't it the Astronomer was a shimmer hall and the Cosmonaut was a modulated hall?
Yeah, I know there for sure was not a plate until he did like the full or one of the like random ones he came up with.
Was this
it was on the Fool.
Yeah.
Was this one of the ones he did a 1.5 on?
That was the Astronomer.
No, the Astronomer did
Okay.
1.5.
Okay, so this one now has 3 modes. It has a modulated plate that he's calling Sputnik, Lunar 2, which is a dark modulated chasm, perfect for ambient layering, and then the Vostok 1, a analog voice tape delay. So I think we were talking about this a few days ago when it first started getting teased, and the first thought was, wait, a delay and a reverb pedal? Was that kind of your guys' reaction too?
No, I kind of well, I was sad for the fact that I couldn't have like 2 like reverbs like on the V1, but it excited me because it's something different for the Cosmonaut V2. Because I do like, what is it? Shoot, hold on a second. Talk amongst yourselves while I grab this pedal.
Oh no, we're gonna keep moving forward like
He
we did when
didn't
Diaz
give
was
us a
trying to do
topic.
stuff. Talk amongst yourself.
So Rhode Island is neither a road nor an island.
I just ate a Cracker Jack box, and they actually have
The Earthquake
Okay.
Devices Dispatch Master. That's got the delay and reverb kind of in one box kind of deal.
Oh yeah,
You can't have them both on at the same. Like,
Well,
you can't.
in the Dispatch Master you can. This one I don't think so.
no, it doesn't look like it.
Which is also a little bit of a bummer, but we could be wrong.
All right, so I have an opinion on it.
Go ahead.
So I'm gonna start it off with I love Rick, I love Matthews effects. They're amazing sounding pedals, but maybe it's just me. But I wish he would, like, he's doing all this like teasing and stuff, and it's all for V2s, which is kind of cool. But you know what? I think now that I like really reflect on it, the V1 on the Cosmonaut was amazing.
It
was
really
great.
is.
I really don't feel like it warranted a V2 because he's not fixing a problem. Sure, he's expanding it, but I feel like he could have expanded to a new pedal.
Did this old one? Did the V1 have an external jack for like expression controls?
No.
Nope.
So that's a new feature.
Yeah, I will say I wish that the V2 had stuck with 2 reverbs, especially since he 2 reverb presets, since he added the extra stuff on there.
Oh,
Wait,
it is.
It is.
Oh,
two
you still
reverb
can do.
presets.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So so each preset you can do. So you can do one as the reverb, one as the delay. You can do both as the same reverb. Each. So if you see the switches at the top there,
Oh, sick.
Scott, if you could circle those for me, where everyone can see. So you can change. You can choose which of the 3 you want for each preset.
Oh well, fuck
So-
it. I'm buying this and the Astronomer V2 then.
Okay. All right. No, go for it. But the one thing I've always wished with the Matthews effects, now that he's moved, I feel like if he could have done this on the V2s, I would have been a little bit more, I won't say impressed, because he's already doing something I know I can't do. So it's impressive already.
Right.
I wish you could run them at the same time. So like with the delay
Oh.
and the reverb.
That would require 2 basically DSPs.
I understand. Like I get that it's not
Yeah.
really
I
feasible.
mean, like that's like
but-
Source Audio Ventress territory when you're able to do that.
Yeah. That's okay.
Yeah. If we can ever talk him into actually doing another dual reverb again, this would be cool.
I feel like if he could do like a dual reverb in like it's not as big of an enclosure, because his dual reverb that came out seemed like it was a pretty big enclosure. But the one thing that I don't like the artwork. It's got this yellow, and it reminds me of Chuck E. Cheese or like McDonald's. The coloring and I don't care for it. But that's just a personal thing too. But I mean, it's a Matthews Effects pedal. It's gonna sound amazing.
Yeah, it fits the brand. Like the logo fits the brand. It's just the color is a little loud.
A little loud, yeah. I don't know. I mean, it's great, but that kind of moves us into our topic, Scott, doesn't it?
It does. It does. And part of the reason this topic came up is because we had 1, 2, 3 revisions of pedals today. And so we started talking about V2 pedals, and that also includes V3 and V4 pedals. Let's assume either you decided not to buy a pedal or you already are an owner of the pedal. So that will be 2 scenarios that we probably have to talk about here. When are we interested in a new version, and when is it just overkill? So I think before we get into the generalities, does anyone know a time when you already owned a pedal, the new version came out, and you were like, oh shoot, I need to sell my old one and buy the new one?
When the Astronomer V2 came out.
Did you do that? You've got the V2
I haven't
now?
bought it yet, and I'm not gonna sell like my Cosmonaut V1 to get the V2 because my V1's already like one of the limited edition ones.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if I've ever done that.
Yeah,
sold a V1 to get a V2.
Yeah, Rick's stuff is, as long as he does it like right, which he normally does, is worth like taking that upgrade.
Okay, so I'll give an example of whenever a V1 went to a V2, and I felt that it was the right call. Wampler Faux Tape Echo. Prime example. So they went to the V2. It got. I feel like the sound stayed the same, but there was a lot of upgrades to functionality. I think that's another thing too, is especially if they're fixing a problem.
Yeah.
So the Faux Tape Echo, the V1, and then there was kind of like the V1.5. So the V1 didn't have soft switches. I don't think it had I don't think it had a tap tempo. It might have, which I'm assuming it had to have a soft switch to have tap tempo.
Yeah.
Because it's got to be momentary, right?
Well, I mean, so like my JHS Unicorn has a hard switch for the on-off and a soft switch for the tap tempo.
Well, that's what they did on the V1.5. I know that for a fact.
Okay.
And then the V2 came out. The artwork got upgraded. And say what you want about the new Wampler artwork. I like it. Especially the Faux Tape Echo 2 is really cool because it's a nice purple and it's got like reel-to-reel. It's got reels on it from like a tape deck. So it looks good. You've got tap tempo. You've got subdivisions. And then like that was like one of the big things, and it was really cool. Your light goes with your tap tempo. I mean, there was a big functionality upgrade, but it sounded great, and the sound stayed the same. But the one thing that I feel like if you're changing the sound too much, it needs to become a new pedal. That's a thing. All right, so look,
like Tube Screamers.
No. Well, maybe. Like, you got TS-808, you got TS-9, which is different series, but it's still a Tube Screamer.
Yeah.
But, like, I think that's one thing with, like, adding this new stuff to the Cosmonaut and the Astronomer. Yeah, it's great, but I feel like you could have turned some of these into new pedals.
Would you have rather that happened, and then you had to kind of buy multiple pedals from them versus, like, okay, I can sell my current one, get the new one, and get all the features for, I don't know, eat the cost of depreciation, right? As long as you sell and buy at the right time.
Yeah. Well, as soon as that new one comes out too, it's going down.
Yeah.
Your prices, your used price is plummeting because everyone's doing the same thing. Everyone's flooding. Not everyone, but a lot of people are doing the same thing. They're flooding with the old version. Hold on.
John just muted himself, didn't he?
Probably. I thought it was just me that
he's back.
glitched.
Sorry, my audio cut out.
Is he back?
I'm back.
He's back.
I'm back. I'm sorry.
Okay, just start your thought over again, and we'll just cut it up.
What was I saying? I got distracted by that phone call.
Okay. You were talking about when the new version comes up, the old one price plummets.
Yeah, so when the new version comes out, the old one plummets. Unless, for some reason, there's a like something different. So the kilt, version 1, version 2.
Yep, that's one of the few situations where the new one had less features.
The new one had less features. It had a smaller enclosure. I don't know if they fixed it, but one of the complaints about the version 1 kilt, people always had a lot of interference, or it was a common thing. A lot of noise issues with it.
Yeah, that's because he had a boost on the same circuit.
Yeah, the boost on the same circuit, and I still think it contributes because the casing, I don't know.
Well, yeah, it's not. The casing pits, like the gloss on it starts going. But JHS is an interesting one because the one that really sticks out to me with them, well, there's two that really stick out to me with them. The first one is when they came out with the version 4 of pretty much every single pedal, where they added that red remote feature.
Oh yeah,
and like the Pulp and Peel had the direct out.
Yeah. So like that was adding a pretty kind of a changing feature on it. It added a cool function where it's like, okay, this dip switch that's internally or done or one of those kind of things gets flipped by an external foot switch. Took a single enclosure pedal and made it 2 pedals, or gave it a lot of more functionality, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, it pretty much added like a pre-boost, like a pre-drive boost.
And then the other scenario I think about is when the Unicorn, Penguin, and the Panther Cub went to V2, and they all went down to a single enclosure size.
Yeah.
That was a pretty significant upgrade, where both of those situations, I think those were upgrades that made them better without really adding to the cost.
Yeah, and it really didn't change the sound of it too much. Maybe that's something. Maybe it's the changing the sound. I feel like if you change the sound, you should just make a new pedal, maybe.
There's the history of the Big Muff, right? Where they have to either they ran out of the parts or they decided to build them different, and each generation was its own thing.
Yeah.
And they at least changed the artwork to make it distinctive. It's not like is it the OCD is the one that has like 20 different versions?
Yeah. Version 1, version 1.2, version 1.3, version 1.4, and then they finally come out with a 2.0.
Is that what the black one is with CME?
No, that was just limited edition color.
Okay. But like that's a pedal where they didn't really make public any of the real changes inside it.
Yeah.
And then you go on the gear page, and version 1.4.5 is clearly the superior one to all,
I think 1.3 is like one of the 1.4 is the most common. I think 1.2 is a coveted one. I think that's the one with the blue LED. And then 1.3 is pretty well liked too. If I remember correctly. I could be completely wrong though. Well, what about the full drive? You got the full drive MOSFET, non-MOSFET. You've got the full drive 2, and then you've got the full drive 3.
Oh, there's only 3 versions of that, really. 3 or 4.
But they're specifically called out that they're different iterations, right?
I believe so. Well, except for maybe like the 2. Because
there's full drive 2 MOSFET and non-MOSFET.
Okay, as long as I actually like specify that then everything's like
the full drive,
pretty clearly defined.
The full drive with MOSFET is just the full drive 2, and then you've got the full drive 2 non-MOSFET. But I mean, I think if you're changing the sound quite a bit, I think that if you're doing different versions, you're changing functionality. You might be changing some parts inside, but like the sound's pretty much staying the same.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still, what is the full drive? Still a tube screamer and a boost that can't run independent until you get to the 3.
Essentially, yeah.
So, I don't know. I think, I don't know.
So it's never been a scenario where any of us have been pulled outside of Chris right now with some of these new Matthews pedals. It's never been a pull to upgrade for an existing owner, right?
No, not really.
So have there been scenarios where an updated version made you go, okay, now I want it? Where you didn't before, or you were like, oh, I'm close, but the version 2 or the version 3 tipped you over the edge?
Maybe if you consider like the Pink Panther like reissue like being an update. in V2 because I think they, if I remember right, like the original Pink Panthers were slightly like maybe noisy.
Yeah.
It was something like that, but like all that was pretty fixed in the most recent one.
Well, okay, here's another. I mean, the Keeley compressor. There's the original was 2 knobs, and then they came out with Keeley compressor 4 knob, which wasn't like. I mean, it was kind of like V2. It was an upgraded one, but they just called it the 4 knob. They still made 2 knob at the time too, but I don't know. I've never been like seen something that got updated. Usually, if I want a pedal, it's because of the sound. And that's what I want. I want it because it sounds a certain way. But I've never had a function be added that like just made it where I had to have it. I guess at the basis it's all about just the sound and that's I guess that's why if you change the sound on it enough, I feel like it should become a new pedal. Like instead of the Cosmonaut V2, they should have just made it something else because you're only what were the 3 versions on it? You've got a delay which doesn't follow the Cosmonaut because the Cosmonaut was a Hall modulated reverb.
Yeah, now you don't have tap tempo on that unless maybe the external it allows it to be a tap, but
I doubt it. He doesn't do tap. That was one of his biggest fails with the Surgeon in my opinion. The Surgeon came out and it was a great sounding delay. Like I heard that might have been one that if he made a V2 with a tap tempo or like where you can add tap, I would have gotten the V2 because it would have been a functionality that got added that I felt lacking from the first one. Yeah. But in the end, it still sounded great as the basis.
Interesting.
But
I'm trying to think.
Just my opinion.
I think would you count the Red Knob mod on a Total Recall as a version 2?
No, that's like a version 1.2.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's kind of just.
I did do that.
Well, but that was kind of just fixing a problem that was being complained about, or fixing a thing that was being complained about, wasn't it?
But it wasn't like a super
that's
big
what
problem.
A lot of 1.1s and 1.2s are.
Well, yeah. But like making it a V2 on the Tunnel Recall would have to change something functionally that's dramatic in my opinion. I don't know I don't see how he could come up with V2. Well, he had the Mark II, the Warp. Is he up to Mark III on the Warp Vinyl?
Well, he has the Hi-Fi now.
Oh yeah, so that's kind of like a Mark III. That's kind of like a V3. He just doesn't call them Vs. It's Mark.
Yeah.
Who is Mark anyways? How does he get like all the credit for the new stuff?
I don't know. We tease Mark pretty.
Because Mark comes in and steals your girl.
Crazy thing, I actually saw Mark Swartz, a friend of the show, the other day. He swung by
he
my
came
work.
into your work, right?
Yeah, Clifton Worley and him, I guess, plotted together. Clifton's like, "Hey, do you still work at this address?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Oh, I've got a friend who's traveling through town," and I didn't want to be like, I didn't want to sound like self-centered. Where I'm like, "Am I gonna know him? Are you doing something cool for me?" But there's like that little thing in the back of the head. I'm like looking around to see who's gonna show up, and I was in my office, and I walk out, and there's Mark Swartz just standing there. I was like, holy crap. So I had to run up, give him a big hug, and I had just made the deal with the Valatin pedals, so.
Oh, you're nice and happy.
I was in a good mood. They're in a Walmart bag, and I like took it out to him. I was like, dude, check it out.
Totally not a drug deal going on.
Yeah. Those happen at the back of the parking lot.
So going back to our topic, I got 2 more things to kind of ask about to the crowd here. The King of Tones on version 4 right now, right?
Yeah. Functionality changes.
Yeah, do you see 1s and 2s and 3s show up that much?
No. And
are they sought after?
Yeah. So those, I mean, that's kind of like a history thing though, because the King of Tone is up there with like the Klon Centaur and on being some of like the original boutique drives. Especially it still has the Klon Centaur thing going where people are waiting 18 months on a wait list for it to get it. People buy it for, $250-$300, turn around, sell it for $500-$600. It's kind of got that thing going on, but it's still in production, so it's not going to hit the $3,000, $4,000 mark like the Centaur. But when they come up for sale, they don't stay long for the V2s and stuff like that.
All right, so that is one of those ones of like, that's a sought after to have an original version, but it's more a nostalgia thing.
Yeah, it's kind of like buying a piece of rock history or guitar history.
Okay. And you actually brought up the other one I was going to bring up, which was how the Centaur is out of production, and there's the arguments over the gold versus the silver one. And then
you've got the one that has the pony, the one that doesn't have the pony, or it has the Centaur on it, but they call it the pony.
Yeah, and then you have the KTR, which do you argue that is a new version of the Centaur or not?
I think it is, but Bill was smart enough to not call it Centaur V2.
Yeah.
He kind of made it its own thing, and he got really smart with that. That was a good call on his part. And, he puts on there that, the hype isn't his fault. He was just a dude making a pedal, and things got crazy. So, what do you think?
I'm still glad I picked mine up when I did. They still seem to be out of stock.
Yeah. So there's and that a lot of that stuff that happens too, like all the hype that gets built up. Another one's on Dumble, but I think Alexander Dumble was behind a lot of the hype on that. I mean, you had to sign a contract, and he had to know
crystal lattice structures.
You had to know. He had to know who you were and all this, and you had to sign that you wouldn't sell it and stuff like that. And that one, he built the hype. Bill didn't really do that so much. So.
So I'll wrap up the topic with one last question then. Is there a pedal that if they changed it, you'd go out and buy it as soon as you had the money? And what is that? What does that change?
I'll go with tap tempo on the Surgeon. Come out with the Surgeon V2 with tap tempo, I'd buy one.
How about you, Chris?
Ooh, I got another one too.
Yeah,
actually.
Go ahead, because I'm coming up blank.
TC Electronics. You got the Alter Ego V4. You got the Flashback 4. If it had MIDI control, I would probably use one of those, especially the Alter Ego. Like when I was running MIDI, but all it can do is MIDI clock. It has MIDI in, MIDI out, but all it does is clock. And as big as an enclosure as that is, there's got to be some way for them to get some MIDI control. Because if you look at what is it, the Scarlet by Sayla Sounds or whatever it's called, Sayla. That's an overdrive that can have MIDI control, and that's really cool. I mean, and look how small that is.
Yeah, adding MIDI control is actually not a size issue; it's a price issue, for sure.
Oh. Well, I think that if TC Electronics could bring those pedals down just a little bit in size and allow for MIDI control, that MIDI control along with the Tone Print app,
yeah, that would be pretty sick.
Those pedals would be all over worship boards.
Yeah, I think they would. That's actually a really good call.
All right, so if someone at TC Electronics is listening, I'll take the first one to try. But yeah, there's
You'll take one for the team.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be tough to do that. I think you were asking too if a pedal came out that was a V2, if I'd buy it. If they came out with a Time Factor V2.
I'm in a similar boat. I'm sitting here looking at my DL4 right now, wishing it was smaller.
Or wish it had MIDI control. You could if it allowed for 99 banks via MIDI, that would be.
Or having more presets than the 3 plus 3. that can be switched in. Yeah, I mean, something like that would be amazing. And it's really just, another take on like the M5, really.
Yeah.
But
I don't think the
just
M5
the form factor
ever
of the M5
sounded
did.
as good as the DL4.
Yeah, I wonder why. Probably just a lower processor to deal with everything that it had to deal with in the M5. But yeah, if they could redo the 4 Series in a more compact enclosure on top of all that, because by today's standards, the DL4 is a beast in terms of size.
The thing, and it weighs, it's a brick. It's like, the thing's heavy too.
Yeah, once you get the 4C batteries out of it, it's not so bad.
Wow.
But that's the funny part is if you made it powered only, like you took the battery compartment out, that's a huge size reduction on the DL4 just there.
Well, I mean, but when those came out, I mean, power supplies weren't what they were or what they are now.
Yeah, especially for that type of power too.
Yeah, you didn't have
that was back when
Zumas or anything like that.
So all that fun stuff. I think that pretty much wraps up everything we've got to say on this topic. How about you guys?
That's all I got to say about the war in Vietnam.
All right.
Okay.
Well, thanks for joining us, everybody. First off, thanks to StringJoy for sponsoring this podcast. Go check them out again at stringjoy.com. Custom sets of strings with balanced tension options and various sizes, gauges, whatever your heart's desires. Go check them out. Feel free to leave us a review on iTunes. 5 stars only, please. Or Diaz can't write all of them using his own name.
There's gonna be one now. I'm gonna get my wife's phone and be like, the guy named Diaz with the sexy voice. I like him. I'm just gonna go on there and just start putting random reviews.
Gosh.
Please don't do that.
I'm just gonna put, wait, there's a podcast
On the podcast app.
on the podcast app.
See what you started.
Yeah, follow us on Instagram, which is another thing Diaz does. Over at the Effects Loop.
I do a lot of the Instagram, don't I?
You do. Join our Facebook group. That's our most active, probably part of our social media. Follow up on our discussion today. Talk about when a V2 pedal didn't work for you, or what are you looking to see in a future release of a pedal? That will be very interesting discussion. So we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, I might have an answer by then too.
Dan Echo V2 with tap tempo and a enclosure that doesn't weigh 1,000,000 pounds.
I can't believe the Millionaire series didn't actually include.
Here's the problem with Dan Electro pedals. They're like, you've got these pedals like the Dan Echo that are built like a tank and they're huge, and then you've got the new ones that come out and those are just plastic and cheap. There's no in between.
All right, go check out our YouTube account. We had a bunch of our NAMM videos up there, and actually one of them includes something we talked about today with that old Blood Noise Endeavors reflector.
Or the Gibson with the Epiphone slash.
Oh yeah, they're both up there.
Yeah.
So yeah, check out them both out. And then the last one, if you got things to talk about, or if you want to give us some feedback, anything like that, feel free to send us an email at theeffectsloop@gmail.com. Once again, thanks for joining us. I'm Scott.
I'm Chris.
And I'm Diaz.
Have a good one, everybody.
Bye.
Vaya con Dios.
We are strong. We have to just keep pushing along. We are one. So let's come together, show 'em some love. There are many things that this world.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Well, you know what
I
to
was
say.
just jerking out of a sound asleep. Oh, yeah.
We are actually recording this now, right?
Welcome to the
And
Effects
that's
Loop.
going on the end of the episode.
All right.